Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Friday! G. Bush rocking the brown hat. That's the Indiana Jones, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, man. This is the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's a good look.
You know what I'm
Good
saying?
look. If they ever do a remake, I think
won't be in it.
you're Harrison Ford.
No.
Why not?
I've actually tried to be in movies before.
That doesn't surprise me.
As extras.
Yeah.
So when they had the
And they didn't call you?
Well, you remember when the Avengers was here?
Yeah.
My ex-girlfriend, or one of them fiancés, she actually
One of your exes.
One of them. She actually was in the movie.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, but I was supposed to be in the scene. I was supposed to be in the scene where Thor has his hammer confiscated, and they're around in this little place, this little thing, and it's dark and it's raining. And so I was trying not to be it, and I walked in, and it was like, yeah, you can't be in this.
Why?
They're like, you're bigger than Thor.
Oh, yeah, they want everybody small so
like,
Thor looks
why,
gigantic.
We can't have you just be some random.
You probably will never be in a Tom Cruise movie either.
No civilians. They're like, you're way too big.
Yeah.
Like everybody else. And it's just not even them. It's just everybody else around. Like, you're like, no one wants to see you. The goal is to look at the movie. People, you'll stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, that's true. I get that.
Yeah,
they want all the attention to be on the stars.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
Fresh back from the combine. See any fights? There was a media dust-up.
I actually did the hit for the show from that day, but I didn't see it, or I probably would have jumped in and helped.
For those that haven't heard, there were two media members covering the NFL.
Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport.
Damn near threw hands. I mean, it sounded like they were nose to nose.
I would have held one and let the other one hit him.
You don't have to pick a side on here.
Right.
I know what side you're on. I'm on the same side you are.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would have been on the same side.
Hey, man, come on now.
I'm on the side that's not the snitch.
Now,
How's that?
hey, you guys got to stop that white-on-white crime.
I know, it's awful.
Don't do it.
It's awful. Just everywhere you look.
Country club crime is not a thing, man.
Country club
That was a
crime.
slap fight. That's what that was.
Yeah. I'm glad you weren't a part of it. When I heard two media guys were involved, I'm like, Jay's got a short fuse. I mean, I could see someone saying the wrong thing to Jason and getting whopped.
Yeah, nah.
But
yeah, Jason be like, I got to get up out of here. Like, he's like, like, no. I
knows the short fuse is
I
real.
wasn't even supposed to even come to this restaurant. I'm out of here.
I think I have a long fuse, but it can shorten at times. But then when it goes off, then
you build up.
I black out and don't remember what happened.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, you rarely lose your temper. But when the switch goes,
it goes. It's gone.
It goes.
Yeah,
I've seen it on the show. I've seen it on the show. It's actually fun to sit back and watch it. It's kind of like watching a volcano erupt. It only happens once every 1,000 years, but when it goes, it's a mess.
I got kicked out of a bar, stone sober in Arizona.
Really?
I was ready to kill this guy. And I mean, he had a neck tattoo. He definitely did time. I would have lost. I would have lost.
But you were going to go down.
I was going to get my licks in.
I'm about
What
to
happened?
take this.
It's a long story. The TV he was watching. It was a Sunday Cardinals game.
Yeah.
And the volume was broken over the TV above our head. So I'm sorry, the volume was broken on that one. So the volume was at like 60 above our head.
Yeah.
And he's watching it on that one. I'm like, hey, buddy, why don't you just put it on that one? He's like, no. And he got really, like, it went from 0 to 100 fast.
Wow. Yeah.
And I said, are you always an a-hole or is today a special day? And he said, say it again. I said, are you always an a-hole or is today a special day? And I'm standing up and he's standing up and we're going to go. And the owner threw me out.
This guy was probably a regular.
Probably.
And he had a neck tattoo. I live by one rule. Don't screw with dudes with any ink on their face or neck. If I can see it above the shoulders,
you will lose.
Yeah, you're cool with me, man. What you want to watch it on this TV? I'll tell you what. Take my chair and watch it on this TV, and listen to it on that TV if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, that was the day.
Mike, you ready for the weekend? Big basketball game.
I can't wait. I can't believe we have to wait 8.5 hours for tip-off.
I know.
I wish it was at 1:30, which would be ideal.
Yeah.
But I got a big weekend. The Blazers in town on Sunday. You got the Celtics, Cavs tonight, so 2 Cavs games on deck. And should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, should be good. And that's where we start with the Cavs and the Celtics. I like your question here. Could this be the NBA's next big rivalry?
We're doing that in the TV show.
Oh, we are.
That is the KYC league.
Loved it so much.
Switch your rundowns.
WKYC show.
I got to read, Jay.
I did like that.
Papers.
When it came in, because honestly, I'm glad it's a TV show because now we give just a little bit of thought on this.
Perfect, yeah.
And this is a teaser to the 12:30 WKYC show. I think it could be. I hadn't really thought about that until you put it down as a question. And usually I think of rivalries as, I know that there's two different styles of rivalries, but I want my rivalry to be NFC, AFC. Yeah. East, West, National League, American League. But that rarely happens in today's sports world because it's hard for two teams to make it back every year. But I think this could be the next great NBA rivalry.
And we'll dive into that. Yeah. Jay, please switch your rundowns to the
I'm
correct
set to go
rundown.
now. I got 11 o'clock on my sheet
As
now.
I do a quick read from FanDuel. Guys, if you are looking to get in on the action, there's no better place than to do it than with FanDuel, America's undisputed #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Yeah. Jay, you were right. We are still starting with the Cavs versus Celtics, just a different facet of the game. This season, Boston has won 2 of the 3 matchups, but in all 3 of those matchups, DeAndre Hunter was a member of the Atlanta Hawks. Since acquiring DeAndre Hunter, the Cavs are 6-0 and are playing like the best team in the NBA. So, Jason, let's start with you on this. How does DeAndre Hunter change the way you look at how Cleveland will attack Boston offensively and guard them on the other end of the court?
I think it's more about how they can guard them defensively than what DeAndre brings offensively. DeAndre's making shots, and that's all well and good. They got plenty of guys who can make shots. They don't have plenty of guys with a 7-foot wingspan who can guard the wings and even switch on to Kristaps Porzingis, and that's why his arrival here was such a big deal. It was with Boston in mind. Like, the Cavs made this trade with the idea of we got to get past Boston, and we need DeAndre Hunter to do that because of the length that he provides on the wing. The ability to switch 1 through 5. He can guard any position on the floor. We've seen the Cavs in bad mismatches in this series, in this matchup. Max Strus getting on guys that he's got no business guarding, and DeAndre helps that. It doesn't matter the role, starting, coming off the bench. That part doesn't matter. What matters is the ability to go long at a number of different spots. Mobley can guard multiple spots. Now DeAndre can guard multiple spots. Jarrett can guard anybody on the floor. It really changes how you can defend them, and it makes it so Jason Tatum isn't quite as daunting. Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, it's not quite as daunting trying to guard these guys because this is his specialty. And you can show all the shots on offense because that's a lot sexier, but defensively is where it's at for him in this series.
Totally agree. The defensive end of the floor is where I'm most concerned about. You take a look at what happened with the Boston Celtics last time, and you see Porzingis on Darius Garland, Porzingis on Strus. You're scrambling. And the thing that I don't want to happen with the Celtics, and I went back and I watched the game against the Detroit Pistons. By the way, I mean, Detroit Pistons is out here playing good basketball, by the way. I don't know if y'all been watching.
What they did to Boston, was that just Boston looking past them to get to Cleveland?
100%.
I think they caught them napping.
And we saw it for years with JB here. This is what he does. He gets young teams to play really hard. And Boston has my version of ADD, and it could go at any moment.
What's funny is the two of them might be, I think they are in the running for Coach of the Year.
They're the 2 favorites in FanDuel right now.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean,
wild.
one replaced the other, and here they are.
Kenny will win it.
I think Kenny will win it. He should win it, but I think what they're doing in Detroit's a miracle.
Yes.
I think what you have to do is you could not let the Celtics get comfortable. Like, when they start shooting threes and they start hitting and they get on a run, it's an uphill battle the rest of the game. Because when Tatum starts hitting, and then Brown wants to hit, and then you got Derek White and Holiday and Horford and all those guys, what you want to do is you want to make it uncomfortable to them. They're still going to hit shots. They're going to make shots. They're going to be in the game. But you don't want to give one of those guys one of those green lights where they start to feel like, oh, I got it tonight, and they feed him, and he keeps hitting shots all the way through the fourth quarter. That's why I've been pushing for it. I need maximum minutes for Hunter against these Boston Celtics because I don't want nobody comfortable. I don't want Horford getting good looks. I don't want mismatches. I don't want any of that. I don't want their big guys and Tatum getting our guards in trouble because we have problems. We got to help. So I think it's definitely going to be the biggest point of contention is how can we stop their guys? What is Hunter going to be able to do? I know what Mobley and Allen are going to be able to do. Now that you got Hunter, you got a formidable front line that can switch and do a lot of different things schematically. So I'm excited to see what Hunter's going to do defensively in this game.
Yeah, this is no disagreement on this one at all. I'm saying I don't care about his offense in this game. It's all about what he brings defensively. He was literally brought in for this matchup. This is it. They've proven that no one else with any regularity really gives this team trouble. I mean, OKC seems to have figured some things out. Atlanta dinged them twice early, but I think that was just kind of a fluky little run that they found. I think that the Cavs front office has done a remarkable job. Okay, who's our biggest competition to get to the finals? It's Boston. What are they consistently doing to us that we're allowing them to do because of our roster composition? So the last time they were putting the Cavs in awful mismatches through uncomfortable switches. And you mentioned Porzingis, with Garland on Porzingis. Well,
yeah, that's money.
That's going to end the same way every time.
Yeah.
That now is not going to be an option. I mean, they're still going to probably find and take advantage of mismatches during certain rotations. But we're talking about this next, so I don't want to dive too much into this piece of it. But I'm very anxious to see how Kenny coaches tonight. Does he give away trade secrets? Does he give away what he thinks is really going to work against Boston in a 7-game series? And I think for stretches he probably will. You want to try things out. I'm not sure we're going to see as much of Hunter tonight as we should and will in a playoff series. But the moments that I'll be watching most intently are the moments when Hunter's on the floor and Boston has the ball. What do they do to try to take advantage of Cavs personnel? And how does DeAndre Hunter really change the soup for this matchup? I can't wait to see it. It's rare in the NBA where there's such a defined piece that a team is missing, and they're able to go out and get that piece. We didn't, and we talked about a lot of possibilities for the Cavs to make the trade. We didn't think of it, but Kobe did, and he pulled it off, and we get to kind of open the first layer of the wrapping of this Christmas gift tonight. And I'm glad the game's in Boston because I want it to be the toughest possible ask. If it was in Cleveland, we might learn a little bit, but we'd have the home court. Let's figure out where we stand, and I'm sure Kenny will be taking copious notes, finding out what rotations work and which ones don't, and we'll see more of those in the playoffs.
And didn't he say, McNuggets, didn't Kenny say, listen, we got to find out if we can beat these guys in Boston?
Yeah, we're going to dive into what Jay said in a second.
Yeah.
I want to mention one thing on Hunter real quick before we pivot. In that last and most recent matchup when Boston came to Cleveland and beat the Cavaliers 112-105, if you remember, that game got off to a disgusting offensive start. Both teams could not buy a bucket. I'm looking at the play-by-play right now. With the 4:36 in the first quarter, so almost two-thirds of the first quarter, the score was 7-6. The Cavs could not buy a shot. They had 4 free throws at that point. One thing we have already seen since DeAndre Hunter has come into this rotation is he can self-create, right? Like, they could give him the ball, they can isolate, he could go do what he has to do. And I think if tonight, and I would assume Strus is still going to start tonight. Kenny hasn't given any indication.
I would guess he will.
But I think Hunter will come in a lot more quickly
Jay,
than he had in the past.
If he
isn't in the starting lineup.
No, I think he'll stick with what he's got.
Yeah, I do
As
too.
soon as he comes in, I'd expect the first play to be DeAndre Hunter. If we haven't scored yet, we're going to try getting you in a mid-range post-up situation against one of their smaller guards.
See what he
and
can
you
do.
go to work. Try to get a good shot. So he does bring that from an offensive standpoint. If they get into a rut because Boston switches everything, and that does limit some of the driving opportunities that Cleveland has, you can give it to DeAndre, clear out half the court, and just say, go get us a good look.
Oh, he's knocking down like he's knocking down his shots against Orlando. He had some impressive shot making ability. Like there was shot hands in his face, and he came in aggressive. He's been shooting the ball very well from the outside. So I wouldn't be surprised if they give him the ball at all.
Well, here's what I wonder. I don't know if you've done research on this, Mike. And I know it's different because the personnel is different. But what were his splits against Boston this year and last?
I could tell you if you give me 1 sec.
Yeah, I meant to look that up this morning, and I never got to it. I'm just curious to see how he has fared against Boston, how they defend him. And I know it's apples and oranges because the personnel is going to be completely different when he's on the floor tonight against Boston than what he was with Atlanta.
You know,
in his career, he is averaging 13.5 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 1.5 assists per game against Boston. He's played them 13 times in his career.
What are the minutes? Do you have that?
He's played 424 minutes.
In 13 games?
13 games. He's taken 74 threes, made 27 of them, has 9 steals and 2 blocks.
So that's a decent amount of usage per game.
He has not shot very well, though, shooting just 41% from the floor against Boston.
That's interesting.
I'd be very interested to see. Jason talks about it all the time. Like guys don't care, or they, there's different parts of the schedule where they, back to back, so it's just scheduled losses. I'd be interested to see which team comes out and fights the hardest. Right? OKC and the Cavs. You got two teams early in the year where people talked about how great that matchup was because both teams wanted the game. Boston's coming off a loss to Detroit. They were kind of embarrassed by that. The Cavs are coming off a win against the Orlando Magic, and I thought that was an impressive win just because how big Orlando is and the way the series ended last year. They showed them that they were a completely different team this year, and I thought they demoralized Orlando a little bit because they couldn't score. I'm interested in seeing, is this going to be one of those competitive games where both teams really want to make a statement? Or is it one of those things where the Celtics can say, if they get down early, hey, we split in the series, we the champs, we already know how to win?
Yeah, I think Boston does want to kind of send a message to Cleveland with this a little bit, especially with it being in Boston. And Mike, what was the record? What did you mention before the show, the Boston's record coming off losses?
Yes, they have 16 losses this season. They are 15-1 coming off losses. They are 13-2 against the spread in those losses with an average margin of victory.
Are we sure those numbers are right?
What do you say?
Are we sure those numbers are right? Because if they've had 16 losses, they're coming off a loss.
Right, so 16 times they're coming off a loss.
16 times they're coming off a loss.
Yep, tonight will be the 16th time.
Or tonight will be the 17th. I got this off Get Up this morning, so I'm taking it straight up from Get Up.
Yeah. What's their record?
They lost. There's 17 losses.
Okay, yeah, then that is right. If they're
42-17.
This would be their 17th game.
Yeah, they're 42-17.
Yeah.
So,
I see.
but yeah, they have, and the average margin of victory in those 15 games is double digits. So they have been very good coming off losses, and they did get embarrassed by Detroit on Wednesday. I would anticipate if they want to come out and play this game like a playoff game, Boston's going to come out and match the intensity. I don't think Cleveland's taken any games off this entire season, so I have no reason or no indication to believe they won't come out guns blazing. So it should be a hell of a matchup tonight.
Is Hunter going to start? Is Hunter going to start off on Tatum or Brown in his individual matchup? You think?
It depends who he's on the floor with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that does a little bit.
If he's with the two bigs, so let's say he's with the core four.
Yeah.
You probably have Allen on Porzingis, Mobley on Tatum, and Hunter on Brown. I would assume that's how they start. Now, Boston tries to force mismatches and switches, so they're going to screen a ton and try to get you to switch. And the Cavs
do that well.
They do it better than any team in basketball. And the Cavs concede a lot of those switches. But to G, if he's with just one of the bigs, if he's coming off the bench and in that first rotation he comes in for Allen like he typically has in the past, I would anticipate then Mobley taking on Porzingis, and you put Hunter on Tatum.
That's
probably the matchup Boston wants.
The matchup that I wouldn't mind seeing, Jason, and if Mobley want to go to the next level, if they find out that Mobley can move his feet with Tatum and shot contest some of those threes, them step backs with his length, man, that's a tough matchup. Tatum's nice, But, I mean, if Mobley can handle that and you can put Hunter on Brown.
Well, he's going to be the defensive player of the year, so he better be able to handle anything you put in front of
Yeah,
him.
with that kind of cachet, he should conceivably you should be able to take anybody.
All right, like that's another way. That is another way I think the Cavs can win this series. Yes, they got to play well offensively, but if Evan Mobley is the stopper where, hey, if Porzingis is hot, go guard him. Tatum's hot, go guard him. Like if he gets to that level, I think the Cavs can win that series too.
What are your thoughts on? To me, what I haven't seen that I'm going to need to see is Mobley playing well against a Boston lineup that has Porzingis in it. He seems to have been his kryptonite a bit, right, Mike?
Well,
He struggled in the last game, yeah.
He struggled.
he was coming off
mightily in the
injury.
last game.
He did not play well against Boston at all. But he was coming. I think that was his first game back.
It was his first game back from the calf.
So you give him a
cut
little
him
bit
cut him a little slack.
a little bit, and we'll see tonight because you're right. Like we talked about at length. Porzingis missed that series last year when Evan went crazy against Boston, and Kristaps Porzingis completely changes who Boston is.
Sure.
It's the Celtics with him and the Celtics without him. The Celtics without him are very difficult to beat. The Celtics with him are an absolute monster.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, so are the Cavs. So it'll be a fun game.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how Mobley performs tonight. If it's another bad night, it's probably
Then it's worth talking about a little bit.
It's a little concerning when it's
Then
a
you
trend.
can talk about is Porzingis a bad matchup for him and,
Right.
and all that.
But I'm confident Kenny will figure it out. He seems to. He seems to be pulling all the right levers.
I'm confident Mobley will figure it out because he is emerged as that guy.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the next part of our Cavs Celtics preview. A quick reminder, the Barbershop is back tomorrow. G. Bush back in action after a 1-week hiatus at 9 a.m. on the YouTube channel, breaking down what you see tonight from the Cavs Celtics game, some NFLPA report card stuff, some combine rumors, all of the above. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, 9 a.m. on the UCSS YouTube page for the latest and newest episode of The Barbershop. Jay, you mentioned it a second ago, and I am very curious to see how Kenny Atkinson approaches tonight's game. I want to read you a quote that Kenny gave about the Celtics after Sunday's win against Memphis. So he was asked in the postgame, and this is what Kenny Atkinson had to say. And I quote, "We still have to prove we can beat them in their place. I think we go in there kind of guns blazing, go for the win, whatever it takes, throw everything at them. And then after the game, we can kind of step back and say, hey, what do we need to do in the playoffs now?" End quote. I believe, based off that quote, that Kenny Atkinson and the Cavs are going to treat this game like a playoff game. Mm-hmm. Bigger minutes for the starters, shorten the rotation a bit, play DeAndre Hunter potentially in the starting lineup, all those things. Jay, is that the right approach for a regular season game when you are 48-10 already and have a 6.5 game, I believe it's 6.5 game lead? Yeah, 6.5 game lead for the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference.
At times, I think it's the right approach. I don't think you should play the entire game like it's a playoff game, because a 7-game series is cat and mouse. What changes do you make? How do you respond to the changes they make? And you don't want to give away too much because you want there to be a surprise factor in the playoffs. For the most part, these teams know what they are. The big X factor here is, what are the Cavs with DeAndre Hunter against the Celtics? We don't know that. And as much as Kenny wants to figure that out, Boston wants to figure that out too. So I do think you play this game to win. You mentioned before they want to send a message. Cleveland wants to send a message too. This is a very important regular season game. And we haven't talked about this yet, but it is now a long shot that the Celtics catch the Cavs for the 1. If they want to do that, they absolutely have to pick up a game here. This game counts for 2 in that race.
That's true.
ESPN Analytics this morning said before tonight's game, right now, the Cavs have a 96% chance of the 1 seed.
Right.
If they win tonight, it jumps to 98.7.
What if they lose?
They didn't tell us what it was if they lose.
I would be willing to bet it would probably go down into the high 80s if they lose.
Sounds about right.
I mean, it's really a 2-game swing. So I think it's more important for Boston than it is for Cleveland. Cleveland has the cushion. All that being said, both teams would love to win it. It's not a do or die for the Cavs. I do think it's a do or die for the Celtics if they want to get the 1 seed.
I don't think they care about it. I don't think they care about it.
You don't think they care?
When you win a championship, once you win a championship, you don't care about things
I know
like
LeBron said, look, if we've got to pick up a road win, we pick up a road win. That's what great teams are able to do. There's 2 paths to a championship. to a berth in the championship finals, you either get the home court and hold serve, or you have to win a game on the road. Now, there's no question which one's easier, hold home serve. It is tough to go on the road and win in the playoffs. Can the Celtics do it? Of course they can do it. They've proven they can do it. I think the unproven part of that is it's more difficult. It would be more difficult for the Cavs to do that. So if the Cavs had to win a road game, they don't have the cachet of a championship.
Well, they're going to have to win a road game because they're not going to. Very rarely, it happens, but rarely do you see it go home.
Well,
and
the saying
home team
is
wins
the
every
series
time.
doesn't start until the road team wins. However, you can win, and teams have done it by just holding serve at home.
But I think what it gives you is it gives you a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah.
So that because you probably are going to drop one at home, and it very well could be game one. So it gives you a little bit of a buffer of, okay, well, we only have to win one on the road, whereas if you don't have home court and you lose at home, now you got to get two on the road. And that's a lot harder. So I look at it more like you already know you're going to have to get one in the Garden. You're going to drop one at home. You just are. But you can get one back at the Garden. It's going to be really hard to get two back.
What I love is, you're showing those highlights right here. And if you're the Orlando Magic and you came into that game, you're thinking the Orlando Magic are surging. They're trying to, position themselves in the Eastern Conference. You go 7 games against the Cavaliers last year. Cavs win Game 7, and you feel like you're close. You feel like the Cavs are a great team, but you've seen them bleed a little bit. And the Cavs came right in there and got them together real quick. Like, no, we're different. That's whatever you was doing last year is not going to work this year. You guys are going to have a nice season, but if we happen to see you, you're going to get smoked. And that is the message that they gave them. And you know what? The Orlando Magic halfway through the game was like, yeah, you're right. Y'all different a little bit. Y'all different. It's different. Now, here's the thing about the Celtics. Celtics is feeling the same way about the Cavaliers. We won the championship. Yeah, we gentlemen swept y'all last year. We know y'all got a few little people. Cool. We're not really worried about y'all. The Cavs have an opportunity, and I think this is important for young teams, an opportunity to prove to the Celtics, no, this is different. We got a different mindset. We got a different way that we playing basketball right now, different coaching, and this win could do a lot for Evan Mobley, a lot for Jarrett Allen, a lot for Darius Garland, who have struggled against the Celtics. Hey, if they can see some success and the ball start going in the basket, and you get that momentum, I always go back to this. That game, the most masterful game I've ever seen in Boston Garden was 2018 LeBron James. When he came into the game, controlled the whole pace, and Boston was winning the whole game. And he said, I've been slow walking this whole thing. Get up out of here. I've never seen people demoralize like that in my life. But he showed you what you can do if you play with enough confidence late in the game to where your young guys start to feel like they belong. The Jordan Clarksons and the Rodney Hoods and the Larry Nancers started hitting shots late in that game. If Donovan Mitchell can come into this game and say, I got a game plan, and they can win this game, I think it pays dividends the rest of the season. I just do.
To Mike's original question about how Kenny should approach it, or how he will approach it, we talked to him about this a few weeks ago, and Kenny didn't hide from the fact that he wants it on film. He wants to see it. You can drill something in practice all you want, but he wants to see how it looks in real game time, and I kind of like that. So, yeah, I expect them to throw traps at Boston tonight. I expect them to show the Celtics their zone, show them everything that they're going to see in the playoffs. And Jay, to your point, you're probably not going to play the whole game that way, but you probably wouldn't in a playoff game anyway. You're going to mix things up. But you want to see what it looks like now, because the worst time to find out something doesn't work is game 1 of the playoffs.
You aren't kidding.
That's a really bad time.
Uh-oh.
That's a bad shit moment.
Hey, man,
you aren't kidding.
I done seen dudes get down 20 and it's over.
Yeah.
It's just done.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's nuts in
But
playoffs.
it's funny because I'll go back. I think we talked about this. Whatever year it was that Atlanta was really good. It might have been the championship.
2015.
Was it 15?
Yeah, because it was my senior year of college. I remember that specifically.
But it was 16 too. One of those years, I don't remember, 15 or 16. I don't remember which one. And there was a game late in the year. We were in Atlanta. I was back when I was covering the team, and the Cavs were playing the Hawks. And Ty didn't show Atlanta anything. That was just his style. That's what he.
Yeah.
And they played everything straight up. And the Hawks won the game, and everybody in Cleveland was panicking.
I remember that.
And LeBron was like, man, we're good. Like, don't worry about this now.
When you have a cape, you can do that.
And I remember like talking to them in the locker room afterwards and coming away, and I wrote after that game, guys, you don't have anything to worry about. Cavs are going to beat this team in the playoffs. And people thought like I was just being a shill and a mouthpiece. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, Atlanta can't hang with them. And right now, Atlanta is Boston, and Cleveland now is Atlanta then, where you're coming, but you aren't there yet.
Yeah.
And
Boston has the cape.
Boston has the cape right now. So the Cavs still are like trying to figure out who are we, what are we good at when it's game on the line, when it's a team like Boston, when it's a team like OKC, what do we have?
Yeah.
And they're still trying to figure that out, and I expect Kenny to play that way. Like, use your best ATO tonight. If you need a bucket, use it.
Get it.
See what it looks like.
Yeah.
And if you put it on film, you know what? You're trusting that our guys are better than your guys, and even if you know it's coming, we can run it again when it counts, and we're going to beat you with it again. Or you can do what Ty also did, and you come up with the counter to the counter. Like, Ty was so good in playoff series, and this is the big question really about Kenny that we don't have the answer to yet. This is the first time for Kenny too. We keep talking about the players, and the players were growing, and like last year was their step. This is a big step for Kenny that no one's really talking about.
When checkers becomes chess, what happens?
He was not in this position with Brooklyn. And what separated Ty and what made Ty...
Didn't he make the playoffs one year, though?
They were like a 6 or 7 seed.
But he does have... I mean, it's not like he's never been there.
Right, but it's not like this.
Yeah.
And what separated Ty was his ability to... When the Cavs played the Pistons that first year, when he took over midway through the year, and they had a baseline inbounds play, and throughout the series, Stan Van Gundy, I can't remember the details, it doesn't matter. Stan did something to take away what he liked to do on the baseline. So Ty sat there with Larry Drew in his office like 20 minutes before the game, and on a napkin, he scribbled out a new inbounds play, the counter to the counter.
Right.
And they ran it to perfection. It was like a inbounds to Delhi, skip pass across the court, Kyrie 3. I may have that wrong. The game was in Detroit. I'd go back and find it.
Yeah, Kyrie hit that 3-point. It was
because
the corner.
Ty drew it up for me on the whiteboard for a little piece that I did later on. It was fascinating just to see how a coach's mind works. Kenny has to be able to do that. Kenny has to be able to and take what you see tonight. Take what Boston shows you tonight. And now when you get into a playoff series, okay, this is what they did. This is what Joe did to take this away. I have to now come up with a counter to that. So this is a test for Kenny as well.
I mentioned this and people was confused what I was saying, but I kind of like Kenny Atkinson, like the way some teams and some coaches you'll be up 20, right? And somebody will hit a 3, somebody will come down, hit a layup, you down 15. They'll say, you guys figure it out. Kenny don't play that. Kenny be up 30 points. Somebody hit a 3, he calling their timeout. And I'm like, you know what? I like that. You know what? We're not going to have none of this comeback mentality. Some people like, I'm going to let my guys figure it out. I like the fact that he controls the pace and he comes out and he does some really nice stuff to get a bucket right back to kind of push the lead back to where it's supposed to go. So I like some of the in-game stuff, but you are correct. There are going to be points and times today where we're going to have a bucket. He's going to have to call something up. He may have to switch some matchups. He may have to put somebody else in. And one key that is and you notice watching all these playoff basketball games, is sometimes it's just random. Yeah. Sometimes it's going to be a random Sam Merrill, and you don't know why or what reason, and you put him in, and he knocks down shots.
Hey, sometimes you can draw up the perfect play, get a wide open look, and the dude misses it. Did the coach do his job? Yeah, he did his job. He got you a good look.
Just didn't make it.
Just didn't make the shot.
Yeah.
One other thing with Atkinson and how tonight means more than the first 3 matchups. When they start to break down the film, and if these two teams meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, those first 3 matchups are fine and dandy. The film they're going to study is tonight.
Sure.
Because DeAndre Hunter wasn't part of the equation.
Yep. Yeah.
And what the Cavs do with DeAndre Hunter tonight is what Boston's going to study in terms of preparing for Cleveland. And Cleveland's going to study tonight's tape because they have Hunter.
Exactly.
Atkinson has talked at length, and Jason, you kind of alluded to this a second ago, that he's not afraid to put stuff out on tape. And I'm curious tonight if both teams, but Cleveland in particular with Hunter, is going to try a certain coverage on a pick and roll or not switch something with 2 particular players, whether it be Hunter and Allen, just using them as an example.
Yeah. When
it's a screen on Hunter and Allen, when, let's say, Tatum's on, Hunter's guarding Tatum and Allen's on Porzingis, they want to get that switch or whatever, and they don't switch that. I'm curious if Kenny's going to put out anything there on tape that he already knows in his back pocket come playoff time. We're not going to do it like that. But we want Boston to see it. We want Boston to think this is how we're confident. They're confident they're going to guard this sort of action. Just as a little
There might
show
be.
it now
I
and
mean,
pull
it's
it back.
gamesmanship, but
I was
going
to say
be.
there's a ton of gamesmanship going on tonight between Kenny and Joe, because it wouldn't surprise me if Joe Mazzulla is also doing something similar
Sure, he will.
in that regard, which is why I hope. And you never know. The regular season in the NBA right now, you see games like Detroit-Boston 2 nights ago where
Head scratchers.
Boston just doesn't show up and decides 20 minutes in, we're going to wave the white flag. I hope tonight is the kind of game we got when OKC came here in January. And it's the kind of game we got when the Cavs played Detroit and DG buzzer
That
beater,
felt like a
because
playoff game.
Those were the types of games that you can look back on when the playoffs roll around and say, all right, how did Cleveland perform in this situation, in this atmosphere? And both teams were playing at a high level for 48 minutes.
I don't like good games. I want them to blow them out. I don't want no.
Yeah, but playoff games.
Well, yeah, we all wanted to blow them out.
I want no good games.
And I think there's
No good
teaching
games.
moments in those close games, even when you lose. You know, you don't want to lose, but I think that the teams, your mettle has to be tested. It just has to be tested. And I like the fact that these games against Boston and OKC have felt like a playoff atmosphere, because when you've got a young team, younger, like the Cavs, those situations are hard to manufacture any other time of the year. You're not getting against Orlando. And I think also you mentioned about Detroit and Boston. It was telling to me how quick Boston just threw in the towel.
Wave the white flag.
That, to me, tells me how important they view tonight's game. We're not going to expend all this useless energy to win a meaningless game against Detroit and then have it cost us energy late in the game on Friday. So he just said, okay, take the L. It's more important that we beat the Cavs.
You know what? If they listen, this is an opportunity. I don't know if you guys took it the same way that I took it when I saw it, but I was a little taken aback when I heard something Tatum said. Now they're getting ready to play the Cavs. They lost to you lose to the Pistons. Jaylen Brown was upset last year. He wasn't on the Olympic team. Then you take a look at Tatum. He was upset that he didn't even get the chance to play that much. He comes back and Tatum says, hey, I feel like I'm the face of the league. And people was like, no, Tatum, you're not the face of the league. You have a nice, pretty face. You have nice, wavy hair, but you're not the face of the league. And to me, it just seems like the Celtics, even though they won a championship, they got this thing where, like, they've yet to be validated. Like, they feel like we're here. You gave LeBron and Curry all that love. When Joker was moving and he was winning the MVP, why is it that you're reluctant to give us our medals?
You don't think that they're getting their flowers? I mean, they're the champs.
I don't.
I'm with G.
I don't think they get
I'm with
flowers
you.
like that. No.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were the two best players on a championship team. Jaylen Brown did not make Team USA. Jason Tatum got benched on Team USA.
Yeah, that's
the
a
face of
separate
the
issue
league
to
conversation
me.
right now
is not.
I'm not talking
is
about.
Steph.
I'm not talking about individuals, because I think you're right. They both feel like they're slighted, and you know what? If I'm a fan of Boston, I want them to continue feel that way, because some guys just play better when that chip is bigger. But I think as a team, I keep hearing these conversations on the national level. Until someone beats the Celtics, they're the champs. So I think they are getting a measure of cachet.
But that's after 35 minutes of saying how good OKC and Cleveland is. Like they'll talk about the Celtics. They understand the
Well, two
Celtics
things
are the
can be
best.
true.
So for them, if you're thinking about it, back in the day, like Jason said, the Cavs can go in long stretches where they don't even look good. But the narrative was, it's the Cavs, it's Steph. Don't worry about it. They will be in the finals. The rest of y'all is playing for second place.
Right.
But it don't seem the same way with the Celtics. It seems like, Cleveland is stepping up.
They're everyone's betting favorite.
They're,
Am I wrong? Boston is still everyone's betting favorite.
They are the betting favorite.
And to me, when you're 6 games behind, what's the spread now? 6.5?
Between first and second place?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6.5 right
The
now.
Cavs have a 6.5 game edge on the one over the Celtics, and the Celtics are still the betting favorite, a deciding betting favorite.
Donovan Mitchell, y'all can do some damage to the psyche. I think they, as a championship team goes, I think they're a little fragile. I think they're a little fragile.
I agree with that.
Just
A
a
win
little bit.
tonight for the Cavs will go a long way in everybody's mind.
Yeah, I like it.
Kenny's right. You got to beat them there at full strength. You've got to ding them on their floor when they've got everybody.
It's nothing like hearing the Boston Garden quiet. It's nothing like it.
It'll be awesome.
Fun
We're doing a live post-game show tonight, by the way, after the conclusion of the Cavs-Celtics matchup. Jason will be on a plane, but I'm going live. I'm going to try to bring on a special guest for you guys, but we will be live, instant reaction to the Cavaliers-Celtics game tonight. 7:30 tip, which means about a 10 o'clock start for the post-game show, but we will go live as soon as the final buzzer sounds, so make sure you tune into the YouTube page after the Cavaliers-Celtics game.
Where are you going, Jay? A little vacation?
Live reaction.
Paris.
Nice, little vacation.
Little vacation.
Is this spring break week?
No, we're just breaking the rules.
I love that. I used to do that once in a while, but I had to convince wifey that was okay.
Yo, I love white people. Where you going? Paris.
Wait, what time do you fly out?
I don't know if we can get the game. We're flying at 6:30 tonight.
I'll see you at tonight.
Tonight.
I was going to say I'll see you at the airport tomorrow morning.
Out of Detroit, so I'm literally leaving the show here, doing 107 home, changing.
Detroit have a direct to Paris?
Yeah, picking up the kids, and we're flying Detroit to Paris.
Yeah, you're going to miss the game.
Well, I'm hoping that it's on the flight.
What airline?
Delta. Well, it's Air France, but I don't know if it's at Delta or Air France.
Most overseas flights have
The live
NBA,
TV.
Yeah, the TV.
Where are you going, Jay?
I'm going to Punta Cana. And I can't wait. Well, I don't understand what the hell's so funny about that.
It's wild. They be like, G. Bush, Tyvus, where you going? Cincinnati. Toledo.
Hey, G, that's where I'm going.
Where you going, dog?
To my apartment.
Oh, okay, look, hey, but you was out of the country last year. Your passport game was stamped last year.
I am going to Italy this summer.
Look.
Well, for the record, Garrett, we're flying into Paris, and then we're training to Belgium and then Germany, and we're going to spend 4 days in Germany, and then we're training back to Paris. We're going to spend 4 or 5 days.
My
in
mama
Paris.
wouldn't let me not go to school when I was sick. Days off in the middle, boy. It's a school night.
Well, the way that it broke,
You're in bed by 8.
Hey, what are you talking about?
we're gone for 10 days. They're only going to miss 3 days of school because they got a bunch
So
of.
you're pulling them for a week, and then the spring break week is after that.
The spring break, I don't even know when it is.
Hey.
But they've got like different off days.
Oh, okay.
Like next week, I don't know why.
Oh, well, that's good.
So they're only missing 3 days of school.
Hey, that's
fantastic.
That
Yeah.
New York Times and that WKYC, man. Shout out to them. That PTO.
Well, guess what? We just came back from that Caribbean cruise, and now we're going to Europe. I'm not going on vacation again for a very long time after this. After
You
these
know
2
who
trips,
Not have an issue going on vacation.
Who?
That would be Myles Garrett if he signed a
Yeah, that was a good one.
extension.
bring
He's
us
on
back
vacation
around.
Like we
Right
talked
now.
about yesterday. We did the topic yesterday.
He's not going to Cincinnati.
If Myles was offered a record-breaking contract, would he take it? And we all said, and Tyvus made a good point, you don't say no to $40 million. Now, about 33 minutes after we got off the air yesterday, Mary Kay tweeted this. Quote, Myles Garrett not open to a contract extension with the Browns, league sources tell Cleveland.com. So, G, where do we go from here?
Can we talk about that report for a second? I love Mary Kay. But isn't that the most Captain Obvious report of all time?
Like,
That's like saying someone is filed for divorce, and then you have breaking news. This person is not open to a reconciliation.
yeah, they're not
Like,
going to counseling.
It's worth mentioning, though, the report before that report. So 2 reports ago was
The Browns
interested
wanted.
in making Myles Garrett the highest paid non-quarterback in football.
I understand that. Yeah, but I was not surprised at all. But I was surprised that it was a story.
It's just public posturing on
Yeah.
both sides. The
Sure.
Browns are saying we are not trading him. I don't care what the offers are. We're not picking up
What
the
it
phone.
is they're digging more shovels of dirt
Yeah.
into their stance.
Eventually,
they're dug in. Now.
Eventually, somebody will blink. They always do.
And listen, I'm with Jason here. It won't happen now because of the, all of the money involved, moving around, and they got to restructure deals just to trade them. That's not going to happen. It's going to happen sometime during the summer or as we get closer to the season. And here's what happens. And this is why I think it is smart to move Myles Garrett. He's already said he doesn't want to play. Now you're Kevin Stefanski, right? You're in the hot seat. You potentially are going to have a retread quarterback that you've gotten from somewhere else.
Either that or a rookie.
Or both at the same time. So you got to worry about that. You're calling plays again. You guys keep coming out talking about Deshaun Watson is already practicing again. So he's going to be on the sideline. Do you want to go into a season where the storyline is Deshaun Watson is getting closer to playing, Myles Garrett still ain't showing up? trade rumors, and you got a rookie quarterback on your bench that may be playing or may not be playing, and you're trying to win football games and you and the GM is on the hot seat, bro, that's way too much, man. If you thought it was too much before, it's crazy right then. Like, at that point in time, you know, it sucks. You should just rip the Band-Aid off. Myles Garrett is not going to play anymore. He's already made his mind up where he wants to go and how to move. And he told you basically how he was thinking. Like, he's learning, and don't get mad at this, he's not learning from LeBron James, but the LeBron James school of controlling your destiny is, look, I'm going to burn the bridge, I'm going to walk across this bridge and then burn it so I can't go walk back. That's what doing that during Super Bowl was. That's what's doing that during and coming out publicly and saying these things, because you don't want to get scared halfway through and say, man, did I do too much? Well, I do like my teammates. Maybe we is going to be better. No, they took that all off the table. He said what he said, and he said it in a way that made it very difficult for him to come back and join the Browns.
I agree with that, and Jay, I think you're probably going to agree with it wholeheartedly. I'm curious to see. I still am concerned that he's got no leverage.
Exactly.
He has no leverage. And the more I look at the situation, they've got 4 years of control of him.
Yep. I was just going to say that.
And if you're Myles Garrett, you're thinking of two things. And you can think of both of these things at once because one helps the other. You're thinking of short-term legacy, Super Bowl champion, long-term legacy, gold jacket, and perhaps in the conversation, best to ever do it. There are some metrics that already put him in that space. So it's not unreasonable to think that if he continues at this trajectory and puts 6 more years of hay in the barn, that there will be those that write upon his last game in the NFL, this guy is the best to ever do that. And there's value to that. There's real value to that because you're an industry. When you retire, there are certain players that can turn their name and legacy into an industry. And not that he'll need the money, but he will be an industry, the Myles Garrett industry. I think that matters to him. And the Browns can say to him, let's just say they draft Carter. They were 3-14 with this dude last year. What if he decides, I'm going to sit out? The Browns say, okay, we've got a guy that we think is a okay replacement. He's not going to be Myles Garrett. But what? We go 2-15 next year? Like, there's not a whole lot of room for them to go down. Now, if they were 11-6 last year and they were trying to stay in that playoff conversation, you can't afford to lose a guy like Myles Garrett. But we've talked on and on. Why keep him? You're 20 games under 500 for his career with him, so what difference does it make? You haven't won anything with him, so trade him. But there's also a school where the Browns can just say, okay, stay at home. When you're ready to play, we're here, but you're not playing for anyone else.
Do you think this is, I don't think this is, how do I say this? I don't think that this is as bad as it can get.
Not yet, because I don't think it's gotten real personal yet between the two of them, Barry and Garrett.
And so my thing is, Myles Garrett then kept his surface level. What if it does get personal?
That's right.
Now it's like, okay, if you got a player that's sitting here calling the GM and the coach out every single day.
Well, look what happened in Miami. And I bring that up because it's a players' league. And Jimmy Butler wanted out. That was it.
It was done.
But Pat Riley was digging in saying, no, that's not the way we do things in Miami. I'm the godfather of this town, and you're going to stay here, and you're going to like it. And guess what they learned? We got no hammer here. We can keep doing little things, but at the end of the day, the player's going to get his way because that's who runs the NBA. The NFL is not that way.
However, I think that this isn't a coincidence. When you come out with all these player NFLPA stuff and you talk about coach grades and all of this stuff, those come out. Myles Garrett has already said what he has said. And then you start getting personal, start talking about regular details. Like, yeah, this is the reason I don't want to play for Kevin Stefanski, A, B, C, and D. This is the reason I said I didn't like the plan. Here's what really got me fired up. When Andrew Berry did A, B, C, and D. Now, when you start naming names.
That's burning the bridge so you can't walk
so
back.
That hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened yet. So there are levels, like I love the Matrix, right? Machines go tell the Oracle. At what level? There are certain levels that we are able to contend with. We're willing to do certain things. We ain't been there yet. But Jason, do you really want to put Kevin Stefanski under that gun?
This is not a Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry decision. This is a Jimmy Haslam decision.
Yep.
Jimmy Haslam's the one that decides whether Myles Garrett stays or goes.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew is just carrying out the orders of the emperor upstairs. So every time Andrew says we're not interested in trading, he might as well be saying Jimmy Haslam is not interested.
I talked to
in
Jimmy.
trading.
He hasn't changed his mind
Yeah,
yet.
and Jimmy, from what I don't know him well, I'm not going to pretend to know him well. I've had probably 2 conversations with him, and that's it. They keep themselves very distant from the media, but from what I've been told, he can be very stubborn and really dig in. And Jay, you're right. They basically control Myles for the next 4 years. He has 2 years under contract. They can tag him twice that's all they have to do is tell him, you have no leverage here. He can say whatever he wants. He can try and embarrass whoever he wants in the organization. It doesn't matter. He's under contract for 4. You think you can embarrass the Browns any more than the Browns have embarrassed themselves the last 25 years?
Yeah, they're good.
Good luck.
They don't need help.
Good luck.
Jay, let me ask you this, because you know the inner workings of the whole Rich Paul. Did they make a miscalculation because they're used to playing on the basketball playing field and strong-arming their way?
No.
Because I do feel like there's been a miscalculation made here.
No, I don't think that there has. But this is definitely, I think Rich for sure is behind this, because Rich is really smart, really savvy, and really calculated. And I'm sure that listen, this is not the first Browns player to come up with the trade demand, and none of them have been traded yet. Well, Baker was, but that's because Deshaun came. But Baker Mayfield said, I want to be traded. And they said, nope, you're under contract. You're going to be here. David Njoku said, I want to be traded. They said, nope, you're under contract. And Kevin, to his credit, is the one who went out and fixed that relationship with Njoku. And now,
so you think he will get out then? You think that this will work for him?
How did Baker get out?
Deshaun came.
Well, he stopped returning any calls.
Well, that was part of
that
led to the pursuit of Deshaun.
All I'm saying is this:
but there is no Myles Garrett to go get in this instance.
I look at it. I look at it like this with Myles Garrett. I say, okay, is he what is he willing to do to get out? Because
is he willing to burn that bridge and get?
Are you willing to burn it? Are you willing to sit out? And his I guess his ultimate plan has to be, well, listen, if I don't play and they got a rookie quarterback or a retread quarterback, they could be 1-6.
The reason I don't think he's willing to sit out, Jay, he has talked about personal achievement.
Absolutely.
Almost more than any player I can think of.
The clock is ticking on career sacks, and that's
he
the most precious number.
And he also understands the rate which he's on. And he's actually, even though he's the youngest to 100, he didn't do it in the shortest amount of time. So he knows that to miss one game is likely to miss one sack. And to miss 6 games misses 6 sacks. Now you're that much more behind the all-time pace.
However,
he doesn't want to do that.
His calculation is if I can win a Super Bowl, I'll give up the 6 games. Who cares?
But see, what I'm saying is that kind of defies what he has been about.
But he's telling
he has been about, not to say that he's not about winning.
He's telling you, but he wants to win. That's why he's moving.
I know, but heretofore, he starts the season saying, yeah, this is the year I want to be the defensive player of the year.
He's got that.
No one really does that. Everybody, when they show up to camp, says, I think we've got the team to win the Super Bowl. It's team-oriented. And now that he's got the individual piece of hardware, now he wants to add the team hardware.
Yes.
But here's the problem with that. And I get that he wants to go to a winner. He doesn't control where he's going to go.
That's right.
He does not control where he's going to go. So he might pitch a fit and say, I want to be traded. But what happens, and this is certainly possible, what happens if they work a trade and he goes to Jacksonville? Uh-oh.
That's part of the calculus.
And that's why I think they've just made a miscalculation, because I'm looking at this. It's going to be black or white. When the dust settles, it'll be black or white. Either the Browns got what they wanted or Myles got what he wanted. And for Myles to get what he wants, there's 2 elements to it. It's not just about getting out of Cleveland. It's about going to a team that he thinks he can win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years.
I agree.
And he has 0 control over that.
But I do believe that in his heart of hearts, Myles Garrett is saying, you will mess up before that even gets to that point. You're going to go 1-something. You might go 2 and something.
Hell, what's the difference between 1 and something and 3 and something?
But here's the point.
It's all ass.
He's calculating that the fan base is already going to be upset about the stadium. They're already upset about Deshaun Watson. They're already upset that they're going to have to see Myles Garrett sitting on the sideline, and they still don't got a quarterback. If you start off 1 and something, they'll be fired. And then the next GM, they'll come in and say, the first thing we got to do is we got to get rid of Myles Garrett. We'll get him up out of here.
If the Browns, the reason you trade Myles is because it's in the best interest of the franchise, not because Myles told you to.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to. And you go back and look, like Deshaun went to Houston and asked for a trade, and they granted it. So that can happen, and I don't know all the reasons behind it, why Houston was so quick to move off him, even before all of this stuff came out.
Yeah, that Rolodex. Not playing. Go ahead.
But
well, they knew something, didn't they?
They knew a little
and
something.
maybe they knew the smoke was coming when they first agreed to it. But the reason you do it, if you're the Browns, it's not because Myles is throwing a tantrum. It's not because Myles is asking for a trade. It's because you look at it and say, we missed with this window of players.
Yes.
And
He
it's
gives us
time,
an opportunity
and he gives
to
us
get
an
capital.
opportunity. Yeah. And that's
get
why
better.
you do it. It's
Yes.
not because Myles told
And
you
I
to do
agree
it.
with that. But again, so the Browns could actually come to that decision. And at some point, they have to measure what's their pain tolerance.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out. What's
Yeah.
interesting to me about this is in the past, I have been surprised at how the fan base can help drive the front office decision making. And I think to a degree that goes on in a lot of places. It doesn't go on in places like Pittsburgh, where they wanted Canada out. They were practically storming the complex with pitchforks, and they were going to burn the place down. And you know what? The Rooney family held true to what they always do. We don't fire coaches in season. We're going to make a change at the end of the year, and they did. But you don't acquiesce to the fans. What's interesting to me, and this is where we're pivoting to our next topic, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say on this. At what point does the fan pain tolerance reach its threshold? Like right now, I think fans are pretty ambivalent. I think they love Myles, and they want Myles to stay. And if he ended up staying, they would be happy with that. But at what point does the fan base turn and say, get him out of here? Like, is there anything he can do to make that happen?
There's already some people that are already turning.
It's already turning.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's like...
Because most of the fans I've talked to said, man, I hope they keep him. I don't want them to trade him.
Because anytime when people ask for trades, a lot of fans internalize that. They think that you're breaking up with them. They don't see that you're breaking up with the organization. They're like, what do you mean? The organization is us. We're
Yeah.
the fan base. You're leaving us.
Yeah.
I don't like that. So there's a small pop, I would say maybe 15, 20% that have even changed over the long time, over the short period. But as you keep going longer and longer and longer and longer, you'll eventually get people tired of hearing about the story. And then those people will trickle on in and say, listen, just get it done.
Do you have a sense that if you had to guess right now, does he play another down for the Browns?
I think that they will trade him, but I don't think it's anytime soon.
Right, so it'd be after
After the new league year.
But that could also mean that he doesn't play. You don't think he'll start the season with the Browns and then be traded?
No.
So he's done. He's played his last. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that.
No, I'm just asking a hunch.
But that would be my hunch.
And that's your hunch, I know, right, Garrett?
Yeah, I think he's done. It is going to be all into the and I don't like it. That's why I would prefer it gets done now because the offseason is going to be crazy. Like,
well, it can't happen before the draft.
Right? No. I'm talking about into camp. I don't even think they have the money to even trade him before the draft.
It would be very hard.
Yeah.
It would be very, very hard.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either.
Not impossible.
Before the draft.
Not impossible, but it would be difficult before the
Put a
draft.
poll up just to give you guys a little context, and we'll move on to our next topic. I just said, are you guys sick of the Myles Garrett trade request / contract saga? Over 400 votes, so pretty good sample size. 82% yes, we're sick of it. So I do think it's
It'll
starting
turn.
to change. I'm not sure if it's turning on Myles completely, but the tides are certainly
Yeah,
starting.
but that doesn't
to go in
really
that
tell us
direction.
what their sentiment is. Like,
Right.
are they pro Browns or are they pro Myles?
I'm just saying I think they're ready to move on.
I'm tired of it too. I'm tired of it too.
And I'll tell you what would work. If they draft a quarterback and he's good, nobody will care.
Yep.
Myles Garrett. Well, that was what happened? We don't know anything about
Myles
that.
who?
Speaking of the draft, G, that's where we are staying for our next topic. But a quick word from FanDuel first. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Yesterday, Travis Hunter had his NFL Combine press conference, and he said something pretty interesting. We've seen back and forth. Is he a receiver? Is he a defensive back? Andrew Berry said he likes him at receiver, and Hunter was asked about that. Take tag board. He said, quote, "They say nobody has ever done it before. The way I do it. I tell them, I'm just different. I want to play 100% of snaps at cornerback and 100% of snaps at receiver," which he did do at Colorado. G, you're an NFL draft expert. I know you talked about Travis Hunter at length on the Ultimate Brown show today. It's a two-part question, which I know is not great, but I'm going to ask it. Is it possible to play 100% of snaps at both positions? And if it is, does that make Travis Hunter worthy of being the #2 overall pick, considering you'd be filling 2 holes with 1?
No, there's no way anybody can play 100% of snaps. You can play a high percentage of the snaps. I do believe he played the best that anybody could attempt to be at 100% snaps in Colorado. I thought he did it at a high level. By the way, his conditioning is second to none. He takes care of his body almost like in a Myles Garrett, LeBron James way. But I will say the reason why he's not able to do it is if you watch a documentary, I watch some stuff on Travis Hunter just to figure out where he lands in terms of the athletes and freak athletes. So he's already right now, Coach Prime already has him not practicing like 2 or 3 days out of the week.
Yeah.
Coach Prime does not even require him to do any of those things during the week, just so he can get his body together to play that many snaps. Now, you divide that and you look at what happened in college and you extrapolate that over a long period of time, and now you talk about the pros, it's different. If he's going to play corner and play nickel, he's going to have to come up and tackle people. He's in the run fit. Ask Greg Newsome how he like playing nickel. It ain't that easy. Wide receiver, you're going to be running a lot of routes. You're going to be listen. Can he do it at a high level? Sure. Can he play 75% of the snaps? I actually think he probably could.
Yeah.
He can play 75% of the snaps. So I don't think he's going to do it, but I do think that I would draft him because I feel like he is a bona fide superstar at both positions.
So you want the Browns to take Hunter?
No.
Oh, I thought you said you would draft him.
No. If there's no Browns are in a quarterback situation.
Okay, so you're not even thinking this way.
No.
You're not thinking, okay.
Unless somebody trade up and take all the quarterbacks, no, I'm not going to do it.
Okay, no, he cannot do it. He is lighter than Denzel Ward. Let that sink in for a second. He is lighter than Denzel Ward. I know he did it at the collegiate level. He played in the worst of the power conferences in college football, in my view. I mean, that's debatable. Some might say, the Big 12 is better than the ACC. For my money, he didn't do it in the SEC. He didn't do it in the Big 10. And for me, those are the two conferences I would have to see him do it at. And even then, he's still playing against kids. At the next level, he's playing against grown-ass men that want nothing more than to knock his block off. He suffered a lacerated liver on an awful cheap shot. I think that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year, he missed time with a bad shoulder. He injured it in October. He came back and injured it the very next week. He didn't finish back-to-back games because of the shoulder. So it's far too strenuous. When you look at his frame, he's way too slight. Could he build on that on his frame? He could, but if he goes up to 205, he's not as effective as a corner. What makes him effective as a corner is he's Denzel Ward size. Those are things that will probably hinder him from being an A-plus receiver one. This is what I think that a team should do with him, and probably not the Browns because I don't think they're going to take him. I do love him as a corner. I think he can be an excellent Denzel Ward type cover corner. Not as good as Denzel, but I think he can be a very good cover corner in the NFL. You want to use him on offense because he's a weapon. The problem is when he's on the field, everybody on the defense, you might as well spotlight him when he's on the field because he's not going to be there to be a decoy. They're going to him, and now he's going to get doubled. So that might limit his effectiveness. Maybe you use him 5 to 10 offensive snaps. I did find it interesting that Mike Vrabel took a whole lot of interest in Travis Hunter at the Combine. Mike was not a two-way player by any stretch of the imagination. Troy Brown was more of a two-way player because he played more snaps offensively or defensively than Mike ever did offensively. Mike was a gadget gimmick guy around the goal line. That was it. That's not how this guy's going to be used. So I found it interesting that Mike was really interested in him because if anybody knows the value of a guy that can go both ways, it would be Mike Vrabel. But I don't see any world at all where he's doing 100% or even 75% of the snaps both ways. It's just a different game.
I would start him at a receiver, and he would play all the snaps of receiver. And the down that he would play corner is third down. When it's third down, he's on the field.
So you'd use him as a nickel.
But he wouldn't be playing at nickel. He'd be playing outside. He'd be the
extra back, but you'd put him on their best receiver outside.
He's on the best. He's one of my best guys outside. And the great part about it is, if I do that, I'm limiting his his exposure to run plays. If he's in my base packages, they can run the ball. They can do a lot of things.
Yeah, you don't want this guy coming up and run support.
No, I don't want none of that. But what I can do is I can have him run around all over the place. I can even have him blitz off the corner on third down, and I'm going to use him in special teams, punt return.
I think that's the way he'll be used, exactly what you just said.
I remember Chris Gamble doing it at Ohio State. I covered that team. It was Dustin's teammate, played both ways, played 100 and some snaps every game. It was the most remarkable athletic feat, one of the most I've ever seen. And he talked about he needed to sleep like 12, 13 hours that night. He was in bed it was a noon game. He was in bed by 7 o'clock, and he slept till like 9, 10 a.m. the next day. I mean, just think about the exertion and the physical
mentally
toll.
too.
Yeah, and to be able
There's no break.
All the assignments. 100%. Nobody plays 100%. Like based on personnel packages on offense, even elite receivers, the very best in the game, don't play 100% of the snaps. So that right there throws that out. I tend to agree with G. I do think that there's a way to use him. Gamble is strictly defense in the NFL because he wasn't a very good offensive player, frankly.
Right.
He could get away with it at Ohio State in college, but Chris was not an NFL caliber receiver, so he was strictly a cornerback with the Panthers and had a fine career. But Hunter, I think, is a better, and Andrew Berry said they look at him as a receiver more than a corner. I know Hunter back a couple weeks ago said he was coming as a cornerback.
Yeah.
But Berry said the Browns view him more as a receiver. So I think that tells you the level of how good he is on both sides, and you want to be able to take advantage of that. And I think there are ways to take advantage of that. But if I'm a defense and he's at corner, I'm running right at him every single time. Every play.
Single time.
That's why.
Now, if it's 3rd and 11, you're not.
Right. When that base
and that's why you
come
put him out there when it's 3rd and long, definite passing situations. But you do not want that guy coming up on
1st and 10, I'm running at him.
And that's why he'll never be on. I just can't imagine there's a scenario where he's on the field on 1st and 10 and 2nd and 7. That makes no sense.
He's going to play or 2 minute. He's in your 2 minute package, and you even with 2 minute, you had to temper that because they're running all those plays in the 2 minute drill. You got to keep lining up, running down the field. What is he going to be opposite and coming back to be a receiver? So I think there are ways to use him. I think the teams that utilize him the best will get the most out of him if they're creative and they understand it. And look, even if he's great and he does this for 3-4 years. That's tops.
That's the other point.
It'll wear you out.
You're getting that off.
3 years is like 6 years now.
Yeah, this is a very short-term experiment.
Yeah.
And then you're going to figure out which side of the ball he helps you more.
Better.
That's why I do like the fact that the Browns just came out and said, no, we view him as a wide receiver.
But honestly, if you like him as a corner, it makes sense to use him as a corner and as a gadget guy on the offensive side where he's only out there for a handful of plays, third down. We talk about third down on defense, third down on offense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He'd be a great change of pace guy.
But you could also do it flip. You could use him as your primary receiver, and he's primarily an offensive player. But when you get into situations where it's 2 minute and you know they're going to be passing, or you're in 3rd and long passing down situations only, throw them out there and use them more as a gadget for that.
You were a defensive guy. I would think that you would want more consistency with your top 2 corners and your nickel. I could see him as the dime. But you know, like if you've got guys that you've been counting on.
Yeah, and they all have egos, and now all of a sudden you're going to tap your number 1 and say, hey, we got a wide receiver coming out to do your job.
That's why I don't know. I think it's better if he plays defense full time and you use him sparingly on offense.
You see what we're doing right here? This is the reason why people panic and take people off the board, because you got an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. You guys are putting a plan together. You're playing a really good team. You're going to be saying, well, listen, I need him out here on 2nd and 3rd down because we're going against the Bengals. They got 2 guys monster. You're like, well, listen, you know, we got Jerry Jeudy. We got 2 guys out. We need him to be running with the 1s and 2s. And now you're a head coach trying to figure out where.
I just think it's easier to have a gadget guy on the offensive side than it is on the defensive side.
It is. I agree with that. Every year I like to try to pick who's this year's Aaron Rodgers. I'm not predicting that he's going to drop to 22. But I think if there is a player that could sit around longer, it could be him. And the reason I say that is because when he tells teams he considers himself a cornerback, he's almost taking out of the mix the idea that you're going to use him offensively. So I ask this, if you're just grading him as a defensive player, is he the 3rd pick?
Well, it goes to the value. Like, you got to think, how many? If I got a corner, right? Do you value corner over edge rusher?
Yeah, but when is a corner the 3rd pick?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying.
It's hard to find.
And that's why
Jeff Okudah was the 3rd pick a few years ago.
It's very rare.
Charles Woodson.
But Charles Woodson was a unicorn.
He's a unicorn.
Bull's not here. I can use that term.
And Charles Woodson.
And listen, if Charles Woodson was in this draft, he'd be the same thing. I think they would take him high. But because. And, you know, it's a long shot guess. It's just like, who's the dark horse? I could see him sitting around past 7 and maybe even into 10.
But I think there's teams out there that will say, enough with this nonsense. He's a receiver.
Yep.
We love him at receiver.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry, Travis. You're not going to play corner.
Listen, that's possible, but to me, it is a red flag if you're drafting a guy and you're going to do something with him that he's already told you he doesn't want to do.
I think what'll happen, and this is funny, because he'll get into camp, somebody will draft him and say you're going to do one thing, and he's going to go out there and make a play, and they're going to say, oh, we got to rethink this.
And that's entirely possible.
That's it. And
but
so
I think the prudent way for teams to measure him is, you like him on offense, grade him as a receiver and slot him appropriately. You like him as a corner, grade him as a corner and draft him appropriately.
If I was him, and I tell you, it's funny because I say Shador, I wouldn't worry about throwing the football. If I was him, I would literally work out at receiver and defensive back. And
I don't think he's working out at either at the combine. He's going to do both at his pro day.
But he is categorized.
He is categorized
as a corner.
And just to mention, in the last 5 NFL drafts, a cornerback has gone 3rd twice. Derek Stingley went in 23 too.
Oh, well, yeah.
And he's a pretty damn good.
He turned out to be good.
I'm
not saying you're right in the big picture.
It doesn't happen often.
Recently speaking, it has happened twice in the last
I do think he's going to be. I think for 1 year, he's going to be super dynamic. Like, he's going to.
I hope so. I'm rooting for the
next
kid.
year. He's going to be a monster.
I'll give you a little scouting update. Did you get to see Cam Ward at all? Did you spend any time?
No, I didn't see him because we were doing coaches and GMs.
That's right.
I never got to see him.
The Big Ten track and field indoor championships are in Indianapolis, and Corey is there. And this kid is such a nut job when it comes to football. They got into town early yesterday, and they had some time before they were going to work on some training issues. So he said, I'm going to go over to the combine. So he walks over, and he's just sitting in the stands. I think he might have went with another coach, and they're just watching the workouts. And he said, as I'm going in, I walk by a guy, and he goes, oh, damn, that's Cam Ward. So he yells at him. He's like, Cam. And he turns around, and Cam's looking at him like,
who are you?
Who the hell are you? And my son he comes up to him, and they're having a conversation. He's like, you have no idea who I am. I'm a huge Browns fan. I really hope they take you. He said they had a brief conversation. They shook hands. Corey said he was a lot smaller than he thought in person. My son's 6'2", and he's like, he was not just a little shorter than me. So I don't know if they've actually released the measurables yet.
Quarterback's measuring tomorrow.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I thought it was Friday or Saturday. Corey said, I'm thinking he's more 6 foot, maybe 6.5 inches.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is troubling or if that changes anyone's mindset about him. But he said he felt like he was, he was smaller than he expected.
Shador and Cam Ward are not that big of guys, man. Like they're not huge. And look, man, I'm not gonna lie. I prefer larger quarterbacks.
Will Howard.
I prefer larger quarterbacks. I need somebody to see over this one. I don't like that.
I like 6'5" too. Give me Josh Allen.
How many batted balls that's the most annoying thing in the world. Third down, a batted ball. I would rather you throw an interception.
Well, there
or
were
a fumble.
people that changed
It
their
hurts
mind
my
on Baker
heart.
because of that.
It
This
hurts.
dude can't get it over the line of scrimmage. He gets 3 batted balls a game. Trade him.
It is the most painful.
So don't draft another
It
one
is.
then.
It is painful, man. You be like,
hurts.
We didn't even get a chance to see if we could convert.
All right.
I know.
We
It's
got
like
one
a
last thing
penalty
we got to
that
get
takes
to
you out
before
of
we
it.
head over to WKYC and WKYC Plus for our TV show. But a quick reminder, our comedy show next month. It is 1 month from today. March 28th at Pickwick and Frolic. Hilarities on East 4th. Tickets are available. We put the ticket link in the chat. It's on our Twitter page. It's on our YouTube page. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a great time. All your favorite UCSS personalities will be there. And even Jason Lloyd, who we thought was not going to be able to make it yesterday, has changed his flight plans.
I haven't
and will be there to
officially
make it.
said I won't be there yet, but I'm not on the roster there, so I'm guessing I won't be there.
No,
We were making an educated guess because you said you were 50-50. So
I am 50.
we could add you to the
I'm
graphic.
probably more like
whenever
40.
we
I'm
want.
probably more like 40-60.
Look.
We can add you to the graphic whenever we want.
I am
So
perfectly fine not
come
being
hang
on
out
the
with us.
graphic.
It'll be a blast.
I love Anthony's picture. I don't know where we got that freeze frame of him, but it's a very odd freeze of Anthony.
Awesome.
And he probably made the graphic, so we must like
He did
that
make the
picture.
graphic. So, guys, we showed this for a brief second yesterday, but we believe we have a working Telestrator now on UCSS.
let's go.
So we are going to see if I can, and by the way, to talk in this mic, I have to hit a button. I'm left-handed, so I'm about to do this with my right hand. So
Can you tape the button?
we should have thought that beforehand. We probably could tape the button. But I got 2 plays, maybe 3 if we have time, that we're going to try to telestrate how DeAndre Hunter will impact tonight's game against the Boston Celtics. Now,
can't wait
Jason,
for
you
this.
and I, when they played last time, when Max Strus switched on to Porzingis, we were like, oh, my God, this is not going to end well. Right?
Yeah.
Would you be, and I was incredibly shocked to find out that Porzingis did not score in those positions and did not have a registered assist out of those positions. And then I remembered Strus fouled him every time.
I was going to say that's why
So he
Strus
wasn't
was
able to.
climbing up his back.
So I was looking for that play in particular. There's nothing in NBA box score, nothing tracked in their video catalog that show that. So I had to find a different play to try and explain how DeAndre Hunter changes the geometry for the Cavaliers in terms of guarding Boston. So Steve, let's see this Telestrator. Let's see if this works, how it's supposed to work. So this is from the most recent matchup, and this is a lineup that features Ty Jerome, George Niang, Sam Merrill, Darius Garland, and Jared Allen. Obviously, Niang no longer part of the team. So you can switch out Niang for DeAndre Hunter in this instance because he'd be playing alongside of Big. So this is a high pick and roll, Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis.
And that's Niang guarding the screener.
Jerome is guarding Jaylen Brown with the ball, and George Niang is guarding Kristaps Porzingis. So in this instance, you can imagine DeAndre Hunter guarding Kristaps Porzingis. So as this play kind of develops a little bit, they get that high roll, and Jerome, who you see guarding Porzingis, it works. Look at that. Is
It's already a step
now
behind him.
chasing Porzingis. That's the switch.
Yep.
Porzingis is what he's best at is he's going to get right to the paint. He's going to drive what Kenny Atkinson calls getting to the nail, which forces the defense to collapse in. And in theory, that should leave Jared Allen, who's in the corner here,
Come
on
out and
Drew
get
Hunt,
him.
to at least step up and make the impact. The pass, though, is going to go from Jaylen Brown to Derek White here on the wing for a better passing angle to get the ball into the post. So let's drop that plate a little further. I'm going to pause it for you guys in 1 second.
Now they've got the open lane they wanted.
And it's going to freeze on me because, of course, technology is going to freeze. Play. Steve, it's glitching on me.
No, the video played out here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not playing on the iPad. The iPad's what's frozen.
Okay,
here.
yeah. No, right there with that perimeter pass, what happened was Allen left the lane, went to the corner, and that left a wide open alley to the rim.
Okay, so
for
I'll look at this and draw what I'm hoping to draw. The drawings might not be in the same space. So Ty Jerome is chasing here, right?
Yep.
Allen should step in. In this instance, Jared Allen's the one stepping up. When it gets swung to the corner and Derek White has the ball right here, they both go to the corner.
Yep.
Jerome is too small to guard Porzingis in the post. There's no chance if that is Porzingis on Ty Jerome, it's a bad matchup. If that's DeAndre Hunter, though, on Porzingis instead of Ty Jerome, Jared Allen doesn't have to make that split-second decision. You can live with Kristaps Porzingis trying to post up on DeAndre Hunter without the fear.
It's a better matchup.
Without the fear of an immediate, that's a terrible situation. Allen doesn't have to close out. He stays more in the paint. And Jerome, who actually makes the right play here, this whole issue comes on Jared Allen for not communicating properly. If he communicates and tells Jerome, you go to the corner, which is where he should go, and Allen stays in, that falls off on Jared Allen. Let's see if the next clip works. If I hit next clip, Steve will just go to next clip. All right. It's not working on the iPad. It is working on here. This is from the Pistons game last night. This is the big one that DeAndre Hunter changes. When the ball went into Kristaps Porzingis against the Cavs, Jason, what did Donovan Mitchell say the Cavs did poorly when the ball got in?
I don't like pop quizzes. I don't remember.
He said we ended up giving too much help and left the shooters too open for three. He said we can't give that much help, even if he's on Darius or Max Strus. We have to stay in our lanes because what Porzingis is better than most bigs at is ball comes in, kick it out to the corner, make the right play. So this is the Pistons. They're in a one big lineup. That is Jalen Duren. If I draw here, I'm not even going to pretend to draw because I'm drawing on the wrong screen on the iPad. That's Jalen Duren in the corner, and they have Ron Holland, their rookie, guarding. Ends up on Porzingis here in this situation. Holland is 6'7", athletic, not as big as DeAndre Hunter, but he's in the same vein of a makeup. When the ball gets swung here and kicked into Porzingis, look where all 5 Pistons are. They're all on the inside.
Yeah.
That is not a favorable matchup for Detroit. Once again, this was in...
Why? Because there's perimeter spacing now?
It's just a 7'3" Porzingis on a 6'7" Holland who's a rookie versus a guy who is that advanced, and he's not an in-depth interior defender. He's a wing. He's a 2-3 as opposed to a guy who's used to playing big. He just happens to be pretty big. When they come down to help, and you can see Cade Cunningham on top here, digs in hard. Look how open Pritchard is on the top.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have the rotation come over, and that's Malik Beasley getting up to the top to cut that pass off, and then Durant comes out, and you then scramble to get Al Horford on the corner. It doesn't happen quick enough, and then Porzingis hits Pritchard for the open 3. When it runs back, if the Cavs find themselves in this situation tonight and Porzingis has DeAndre Hunter on his back, I don't think they're going to send a ton of help that quickly. And if they are going to send help, it'll be a quick dig and recover as opposed to sending Cade Cunningham full stop like that, turning his back on the defense and then rotating over.
I ain't sending nobody. He going to have to kill me right there.
Because with his 7'3" wingspan,
yeah,
it's an advantage for Boston. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, that's a 2.
But you live with Porzingis taking 2s over kicking out.
I know the only thing is if they consistently win that matchup, then you're picking your poison. And I get what you're saying. You can't overhelp.
I'd rather Boston shooting 2s than shooting 3s.
Listen.
But you got DeAndre Hunter for what reason?
To do that.
For
to be that an exact situation. Now, if Hunter's here, right? If this is Hunter, Cunningham could stay in this general area. Dig in real quick. Make him think twice before putting the ball in. You don't want him dribbling 4, 5, 6 times by himself. You want him to at least think about it.
Right.
And as soon as he turns his back, you recover back to Pritchard, cut that off.
And
or if they do make that pass, let's say Porzingis does make that pass, right? So the pass comes out here. He comes to help. Duren steps over. Then Cunningham recovers to the corner. And you live with that.
Sure.
But when the help comes that deep and Porzingis is looking at a wide open Pritchard here, that's way too easy of a pass for a 43% three-point shooter. And Malik Beasley has to be quicker on the recovery. When you see this play through, I mean.
And Porzingis is going to find that open man every time.
Yeah, and he's a really adept passer. So that's something else, and you could see it better on the last play if it didn't freeze on me, how he kind of helps in terms of the geometry of guarding Boston. And the last thing, and hopefully this one works, we talked about from an offensive standpoint, how he helps, right? Like how they can get Hunter easy buckets. This was against the Knicks, who are a pretty big team on the wing. They run a little flex action here, so Merrill's going to screen, Hunter's going to come off, and they're going to essentially just ISO Hunter on a 6'6" defender. When he gets there, they clear out this whole side, and he just turns his body. Landry Shamet has no chance.
Yeah, and his defender also way overcommitted.
How tall is Hunter?
6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan.
Oh, wow.
And when he gets a little bit of space, and first off, I love the fact that they're running Mobley to the high point here, like letting Mobley be the decision maker, If they go under this screen by the Knicks, then Hunter comes off this screen here from Mitchell for a 3. They go over, so he just finds himself in the middle for the easy dunk. It's little stuff like that from DeAndre Hunter that they didn't have in previous iterations without him.
Options
and
are
I
good.
do think he's kind of the key to the series. Like, he's not the best player on the court. He's probably not one of the 5 best players on the court.
Yeah.
But he might be the Cavs' most important piece in terms of stopping Boston.
And now you don't feel bad. I don't feel as bad as about playing Okoro or Merrill. Like, Merrill, I'm like, when he used to have Niang, Strus, Merrill, I'm like, he's going to get victimized. Somebody's going to get victimized out here defensively. Now I don't mind it as much because it's like, okay, there's at least some guys, because they've been definitely, platooning Allen for Mobley. Usually, generally speaking, they're not on the floor at the same time. So when you got him and the 6'8" Hunter, I don't think you lose too much defensively.
All right, we got Super Chats here to wrap up this. Then we're heading over to WKYC for 30 minutes of never-before-seen content, as Jay likes to say. I like to say because he's right. First Super Chat comes from Salvatore the 216. G. Bush, please do your best to not call any Celtic a Minimowski tomato today, or they will go berserk.
They're going to go
tonight.
nuts. Like, every time I call somebody Minimowski,
They're watching in Boston.
SGA, Oklahoma City don't be liking me. Like, they listen.
SGA's a grocery store.
Yeah. I called him a grocery store. He was cooking.
He said, I just bought the grocery store.
Salesh Sastry says, you guys rock. Maybe the Browns should side Ty Jerome to turn around their lousy luck. UCSS part is my daily staple, and it brightens up my day. We appreciate that. Salesh, I hope I pronounced that right. Salvatore also says, Tatum isn't underappreciated. He's overhated. Insecure fans don't like players they struggle relating to having success, so they discredit him. And last but not least, Boz Crow says, great Cavs coverage, guys. UCSS, best in the land. Go Cavs.
I just like Tatum because he is so good.
Yeah, I don't like.
I mean, when you watch him, he plays with an arrogance, and when they need buckets, he's the guy that flips the switch, and it makes him extremely unlikable.
He looks good.
But he's unlikable because he's so damn good.
He looks good in street clothes. I don't like that, bro. I don't like his clothes lay way too well. I'm like, man, that looks tailored on him, man. He got the broad shoulders. And his beard and light skin, it's messed up, man.
His beard's on point.
On
no
point,
doubt.
bro. And then he got it's like Ebony and Ivory. And then you got Chocolate Thunder himself, Jaylen Brown, with the beard. I'm like, bro, he looks like the new age model for Black Panthers. It's like, yeah, I'm all in. I'm all woke.
Oh, I'm glad you can say that. We can't.
This is why you watch UCSS. Y'all can't do that.
Well,
Y'all
hot takes just like that.
Hey, you got to have at least 2 to 3 black people on your show if you want to get that off.
Yeah. Mikey's on the show today, so we have 2.
All right. We'll see you guys in 3 minutes and 10 seconds on WKYC. Until then,
Peace.